Okay. Hi. So I've always wanted to make cooking videos and baking videos, and I had a lot of Thanksgiving leftovers, so I thought I would make a video showing you guys what I did. I created it myself. I don't know how I did it, but I have been channeling Josh Scherer from The Mythical Kitchen, who is the chef on Good Mythical Morning, which, if you don't know, is a YouTube channel, no big deal. But the chef Josh is so amazing and I absolutely love him, and he's been helping me realize like anybody can be a chef. I have been making dishes almost every night out of just random stuff like butter and flour, and that's basically how I made this dish. This is going to be turkey gravy. Okay, hold on, let me say this properly. Turkey, biscuits, and gravy. That's what this is gonna be. I couldn't think of a clever name, so that's what it's gonna be. I'm gonna act my heart out to fulfill my deepest desire, which is to actually be happy, which I feel like is channeling Josh in the best way if you know him. So let's get cooking. What are 2 things you have during the holidays that you don't want? Thoughts about not being good enough for the ones you love, and Thanksgiving leftovers. So I figured out what to do with those leftovers, especially the turkey, because it's hard for me to figure out what to do with turkey, especially after just a day of being in a container in your fridge. It tends to be super dry, and this bird is no acceptance. I can't talk, I'm sorry guys. Okay, I just realized I didn't turn these lights on. That's fine, we're gonna keep going. I have some butter in the pan right now. Basically what we're gonna start off doing is making a roux. If you are in the cooking world, you know what a roux is. If you don't, it's basically just a starting step to making any gravy or any sort of soup or anything that you want to be thick. If you start off with butter and flour, it's gonna be able to thicken itself up, which is really amazing. And once I learned that I could do that, I was so like mind blown with myself. I know that probably sounds stupid, but if you're like somebody who struggles with self-confidence and you don't have the courage to try new things a lot of the time, it's really fascinating to start cooking by yourself and cooking for yourself. If you're cooking for yourself, you don't need to put your hair up, but if you're cooking for other people, definitely put your hair up. You don't want to get hair in other people's food, no matter who they are. For me, I don't care. I'm gonna let the butter start to get warm, and I'm gonna add a little bit of milk to it because that's also gonna help with the roux thickening processes. I was really scared to use this because it is vanilla soy milk, but it came out perfectly fine because I added enough salt and enough spices to where it overpowers the flavor of the vanilla sweetness. If you've tried soy milk, I wouldn't say it's sweet, but it's got a sweetness to it, and you really want to try to hide that. So I'd say I've added about 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of milk. And you want to do this, I keep turning to the camera. You want to do this low and slow. You don't want to let the milk or butter curdle or get too hot and burn. So you gotta be careful with this. You have to be patient. I know a lot of people who don't know how to be patient in the kitchen, and that can really affect a dish. Now that the milk and butter look like that, we're going to add our flour. This is going to clump up and it's gonna look like a failure right away because that butter is just thickening everything immediately, but that's okay. You're gonna wanna let it cook just a little bit. Looking as weird as it does, I know, it's scary, but you want to let it warm up a little bit to cook off a little bit of that flour flavor. That's something I've heard Chef Josh say, and I don't know what it means, but I'm gonna do it even though it feels insane. And then you're going to want to add water. Not the best consistency, so I'm gonna keep adding water. Cooking is all about going with the flow, so you just trust yourself that it'll end well. I'm gonna let it sit for just a bit, only on like very low heat. Okay, so these are all the spices that I use. This one is absolutely amazing, and it can make any dish into anything amazing. It's Mrs. Dash. It's garlic and herb seasoning. And then we also have some Italian seasoning and black pepper, and then a little tiny bit of cayenne. I've never used this before, but I did use it the other night in this gravy, and it turned out so amazing. Salt. So we need to start salting it right away. I actually added my seasonings when I did this before. I added them before I even started heating it up, so I'm a little disappointed that I forgot that step, but it's okay. Either way, we're gonna be letting it sit for a while and letting the seasonings get into it, so it's, you know, seasoned. So I didn't talk about this too, which I wanted to, but mise en place is very important in the kitchen, and yes, that is how much of that I'm adding. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Mise en place is when you get all of your ingredients ready before you even start cooking. That way there's no mess, there's no real hassle that comes with cooking. You just have it all ready, and then especially if you're filming, it makes it a lot easier. I did not do mise en place with my spices because I just wanted to throw them in there because that's what I do. I don't measure these. Just a tiny bit of cayenne, and then some more salt just to be good. And then it's looking to be too thick again, so literally just keep adding water until you feel like it's right. Already looks like a gravy. I'm so proud of myself. So now, normally while I'm letting this gravy reduce a little bit and cook together and thicken up and do whatever it's gonna do, I will cut up the turkey or whatever I'm doing it, okay? And it's very, very thinly shredded so that you can get as much liquid on as much of the meat as possible, because this meat is so dry at this point and it just needs some life. So you're just adding it to gravy to give it life, and it's gonna be beautiful. Once the gravy is cooked to your liking, that's when you're gonna add the turkey to it and stir it, and maybe let it cook more, maybe not, do whatever you want. I want to have more gravy than less gravy, if that makes sense. So it's going to keep reducing it and keep adding water, and I'm going to turn my oven on only to about 300. I've learned that you can use an oven to heat things up, especially because I don't have a microwave. So for instance, you can put bread rolls in there that have already been cooked that you just want to reheat to eat with your dinner. Put them in the oven for 5 minutes on a very low setting, 300, and it will come out perfectly warm so that you can eat it with your dinner, even a little bit crisp on the top if you want to cook it a little bit longer. I do it a lot with cookies and brownies because I bake a lot, and I always have, not always, but a lot of the time I have brownies and cookies around, and I don't like to eat cold brownies and cookies. I like them to be warm and fresh out of the oven, and if you just put them on a rack in your oven, be careful with this. You don't want to put it on too high of a heat, and you don't want to put it in there too long because it could melt through and make a mess. If you don't want to make a mess, just use a piece of tin foil underneath it and you'll be fine. You put a cookie in there for 5 minutes at 300, the best warm cookie you will ever have. You need to eat it with a spoon because it's so soft. That's the kind of cookies that I love, so that's what I do. But that's what I'm gonna do with these bread rolls to make them more like biscuits that have been fresh out of the oven instead of just old, weird bread rolls that my sister left at my mom's house on Thanksgiving. So yeah, we're going to repurpose them. Before we put them in the oven though, I would really like to crisp them up and put them on my griddle over here. If you've got a broiler in your oven that specifically works in this way where you could just crisp the top of some bread, then you could do that totally with this, but I don't have an oven like that. I don't know, it's kind of old. But also the griddle's really old and you're gonna hear it click a lot because it clicks because it's old. So anyway, so instead of hoping the oven crisps them enough, I'm going to crisp the open sides of these biscuits so that there's at least a nice edge of crisp on the griddle. And I also like to leave some grease on this from before when I cooked on it. Not beef fat or anything. I don't even ever cook beef fat or stuff like that, but the veggie burgers that I cook on there and the onions and stuff, the flavor is on that griddle. So when you cook anything on it, it's gonna add flavor to it. It's like any diner. When you get food, it's just a little bit more flavorful at a diner because the griddle that they use, they make everything on it. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but you're getting a lot of flavor in things when you go to diners, and that's kind of what I want to induce with this dish. I don't know what words I'm using anymore. This is my first cooking video, so please. This gravy is way better than the first time I made it. I'm so happy. Gravy. Gravy, gravy, gravy. Okay, I'm really hungry. But as you're doing this, you're going to want to shovel yogurt into your mouth because you haven't eaten breakfast and you're starving and you've been waiting all day to make this video and you had so much to do today and you ended up almost not making it, but you really wanted to make it, so you're making it, and now you're really hungry because it's almost 4 in the afternoon. That is like what you want. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Now, since they aren't heated all the way through, I'm still gonna put them into the oven just a little bit. It's really sad to me though how tiny these are. That's why I made both of them. I cut two buns in half. I meant to say that before. Yeah, and that's what are gonna be our biscuits. We are getting places, everybody. It looks so good and I'm so hungry. And this is like so simple, I feel like. Like, I don't know, I guess it is my first recipe video and I'm not even following a recipe, so of course it's going to be like super easy because I just made it up. Kind of made it up right now. So when you're cooking for yourself, just make stuff up. It turns out good, and if it doesn't turn out good, still eat it because it's still food. It's okay. Also, it doesn't have to look pretty. Okay, we have our biscuits. So now I'm going to keep adding more water to the gravy. I know it looked like I added so much seasonings in the beginning, but that's because I knew I was gonna keep on adding water and keep on reducing it. So the more seasonings you add in the beginning, the more flavor it's gonna keep getting out. And then the more water that you keep adding, the more it's gonna thin out that flavor so it's not too pungent. I am trying to make sure that I have enough gravy because when I add this turkey into it, it's really going to thicken it up, and sometimes you can like end up losing your sauce when you add stuff to it that's like chunky. I've done that quite a bit when I'm trying to figure out dishes that I'm making myself. If you don't have enough liquid in your sauce and you add too much thick things, it's going to just become meat covered in sauce. And that's not what we want here. We want a gravy. We want the meat to be incorporated into a gravy, not chunks of turkey covered in a sauce. That's not what I want. It kind of turned out like that last time I made it. I still ate it. It was really good. But yeah, we want to make sure we've got plenty of liquid in our gravy. And I'm so freaking hungry. Oh, I see some yogurt. Get some freaking yogurt. If you watch my channel, I promise the Jenna Marbles jean chair video is coming, okay? I'm making a jean couch. It's complicated. You'll see. We're trying to let this get thick with 2 C's, so if it takes a little long, so be it. Especially if you keep adding water, it's gonna then need more time to reduce again so that it can stay thick. I think we're looking at a good consistency. I like don't even need to try this because I can tell it's already so good. Oh my lord, it is amazing. All right, I think we are thick enough to add the turkey. Let's see if I made enough gravy. You guys see what I mean? How it just kind of turns into more of like meat in a little bit of sauce. But I still think that this is perfect. I'm going to use. Look at how beautiful. It's like I made that or something. So now I'm going to let this just warm through that turkey. It might take a little bit because there was so much turkey that I added. But I because I'm cooking for myself here, would like this to be piping hot. So that's what we're going to get to. I forgot to mention, biscuits and gravy is one of my favorite dishes ever, and I didn't even discover that until like last year. My ex took me to a place that is it's my favorite place now, only because of their biscuit and gravy dish, and I will literally go there alone because I love it so much. I haven't been able to because I don't have money right now, but once I have the money, I'm going to be going there by myself because it's so good, and I love biscuits and gravy so much. It sucks that I was a hermit and I didn't feel like tasting things as a kid, and I wasn't given things to taste as a kid, so I never realized what I would like or what I wouldn't like. And I never tried biscuits and gravy. Isn't that crazy? How hot are you? Let it see. Oh, very hot. It's done. We're almost done here, you guys. Get to see the final dish right now. I'm gonna get a good bite here. Mazel tov. You get all the flavors of biscuits and gravy with turkey added. I wouldn't say I can taste the turkey, but it's just like the biscuits and gravy that I would want if I ordered at a restaurant, except with turkey throughout it, so it's like healthy and stuff. And you're repurposing your leftovers. It's amazing and it's beautiful, and I'm so happy that I made this video and that I thought of this, because now I'm not wasting my leftovers. I can share my ideas with you guys. So thank you, and have a good day, good night, good evening, goodbye.